And welcome back to Bengal Bites, a podcast about the Cincinnati Bengals from one fan's real, honest perspective. I'm your host, Derek. This is episode 65. This is the Week 8 recap episode, where the Philadelphia Eagles came into Paycor Stadium and defeated our beloved Cincinnati Bengals 37-17. This drops the Bengals record to 3-5 for this season and 0-4 at home at Paycor Stadium so far. If you're brand new to this show, go back and check out episode 0, where I explained more about who I am and why I'm making this podcast. And it's times like these where I have to really ask myself questions like that. Why am I making this podcast again? But we'll get into that a little bit in more detail later. But in our last episode, we previewed this game and we talked about all the matchups we were interested in watching, some of the storylines and injury news we're going to be keeping an eye on going into this game. And so in this episode, we'll discuss what actually happened with all that and talk about, I'll try to think of all the positives I can take, all the silver linings that I could extract from this 20-point home loss to the Eagles in a game that the Bengals were favored by 2.5 points going into, and they ended up losing by 20. But believe it or not, there were some positive nuggets that we can get out of this otherwise forgettable performance by the Bengals this Sunday. Before I forget, don't forget to subscribe, give me a thumbs up, positive rating, all that kind of stuff. I am not affiliated with the Bengals at all. I'm not selling anything. I'm not advertising anything. So if you could give me a little bit of positive feedback or reinforcement, I would appreciate it, because definitely need it in times like these. Like I said, I'm really asking myself, why do I do it? Is this fun for me? Hopefully this is fun for you guys. If you're listening to this, I'm assuming you're a hardcore Bengals fan and you're looking for some kind of solace, something to get your mind off of the what just happened, or maybe just ruminate and just really delve into what happened. Either way, hopefully we got something for you in this episode. So let's get right into it. Bengals heading into this game, they had a chance to get their record back to an even 50%, or 500, as some people refer to it as. Jamar Chase isn't familiar with 500, but whatever you guys want to call it, Bengals could have got to a 4-4 record. Could have. This is another game that's not an AFC opponent, so it's not as crucial for the AFC playoff standings as it would have been against like the Browns or the Steelers or somebody like that. But every game is important when you've already got 4 losses. Now, one thing that is a little bit different is it's a 17-game schedule. So as Zac Taylor said after the game, so he can't say, 15 more games left. We got 14 more games, 13 more opportunities to go, 12 more games. Now he's saying, well, the season's not even halfway over, which is like technically true. They've played 8 games, 9 games left to go. So yes, that is true. The season is not even halfway over yet. But if the first not quite half of the season is any indication of how the remainder of the games are going to go, it's not looking good for the old Bengals. But Zac Taylor, I'm getting ahead of myself, I know. But going into this game, the other thing we were watching was T. Higgins. T. Higgins popped up Friday after practice with a quadricep injury. He was questionable heading into the game. But that's never good if a guy gets injured on the Friday, game's on Sunday, and he was healthy the previous Wednesday and Thursday. So he was all healthy up until that point, or we don't necessarily know the timeline of events. They're saying it happened on Friday, but maybe it was something where he was kind of dealing with it maybe for a couple weeks, and then it really just got worse to the point where he couldn't go anymore on Friday. So who knows exactly what happened, but T. Higgins did not end up playing in this game. They ruled him out, And I don't know. They tried to play this game where they said, "Oh, we really tried to take it all the way up until the last minute to see if he could go." And he tried to do some things Sunday morning, and we just thought it was better to not have him play this week. So we don't really know the severity of this injury with T. Higgins and how long or how many games he might miss. But the only thing that mattered for this Eagles game was he was not in uniform. He was on the sidelines wearing his warm-up gear again. So this is going to be the third game that T. Higgins has missed. He missed the first two games with that hamstring injury he got on the Thursday before that first game. And they lost the first two games, and they looked terrible in that first game without T. Higgins, where maybe they hadn't really figured out a game plan of what they wanted to do offensively. Remember, that was where Jamar Chase hadn't practiced at all the way throughout training camp, and then he came in just for that last week of practice, and they practiced a little bit, and then all of a sudden T went out. So maybe a similar situation, but in this case, they've been practicing with Jamar all season. It was a little bit more of a fluid transition to get some of the other players involved in the offense. Especially Mike Gesicki really stepped up and took the place of T. Higgins, mostly in terms of targets, but also just similar body type. T. Higgins is like 6'5", Mike Gesicki's 6'6", and long, rangy, athletic guy. So he made a lot of plays. 7 receptions, 73 yards from Mike Gesicki, and I'm going to call it the catch of the year so far for the Bengals. Offensively or defensively, Cam Taylor-Britt interception included, Mike Gesicki had the best catch of the season so far. It was a one-handed catch, full extension. He caught it along the sideline and got both feet in bounds, was able to even get like 3 feet in bounds because he got the third foot down again, and stayed upright. Didn't have to dive, didn't have to leave his feet, stayed up, full extension, and got both feet in bounds before he went out of bounds for a huge pickup to get a first down. A number of big conversions by Mike Gesicki on 3rd and long. It'd be like 3rd and 7 plus, and Mike Gesicki got open against man-to-man coverage. It wasn't like necessarily the play design was just so amazing that Mike Gesicki broke wide open. He was running good routes, quick, precise man routes to get separation from the safety or linebacker or whoever was trying to guard him, getting open, giving Joe Burrow a great place to go with a football, and showing savvy veteran ability on some scramble drills when Joe Burrow was outside of the pocket, outside of the structure of the play, where you just got to make something happen instinctively as a football player. Mike Gesicki did a great job of getting in the way, blocking, and then uncovering, getting open in the open field, giving Joe Burrow a nice, easy target to throw to pick up another huge, like 22-yard or 25-yard gain when it was 3rd and 22 to pick up a first down again. So it was a huge play. Mike Gesicki was constantly, gesturing to the crowd, getting the crowd pumped up, who, as we recall, the white Bengal uniforms. The Bengals going into this game were marketing the game as the white Bengal whiteout. Everybody wear white, and they said how they're undefeated wearing the white helmets and this white combination. I don't know if that was also at home. They wore them in Jacksonville on the road as well. So in this uniform combination, I think the Bengals were 4-0. This was their first loss in these uniforms. They also lost the first game when they wore the all orange uniforms. So all orange, all white so far this season has not been successful. I don't know if they're going to go with it. They don't have black helmets, so they can't go all black at any point. Maybe they'll go all black top, black bottom. That's the look that T. Higgins said he likes on one of these shows, Up and Adams with Kay Adams. I'm so starved for Bengals content. I'll even watch Kay Adams interview T. Higgins. But he said that he likes all black. Black jersey, black pants, black socks. But I don't know. They would rarely go with that uniform. I can't remember the last time they went with that. I'm getting off the topic. We'll save the uniform talk for later. Although they did look pretty good in the white. But it didn't look quite as good in broad daylight. When you're in nighttime and the lights are shining down, the white everywhere in the stands and on the field kind of pops off the screen a little bit even more. But it still looked pretty good, at least early in the game when most of the fans were still in the stadium and hadn't already made a break for the exits, but that came up later. But so what else? We were talking about the two identical twin brothers, Sydney and Chase Brown, were going to play each other in this game. That didn't end up playing out that much just because Sydney Brown for the Eagles didn't play very much except maybe on special teams a little bit. So not any brother on brother tackling or anything like that, but they were at least, on the field in the same game at the same time. So that was pretty cool. We were also talking about the matchup between Fred Johnson, former Bengal offensive tackle at left tackle, going up against the Bengals' top pass rusher in Trey Hendrickson. How was that going to shake out? Because Fred Johnson, he played, I think, 4 seasons on the Bengals. I think he started off his career as a Pittsburgh Steeler. They had him at interior guard. I think he played left guard when he was with the Steelers. And then when he got to the Bengals, Jim Turner, offensive line coach, took one look at him and he was like, "Oh no, you're a tackle." and you just I think Fred's like 6'7", extremely long arms, just a huge person, not unlike Orlando Brown or Amarius Mims or Trent Brown. You look at him and you say tackle, offensive tackle. That's what Fred is. He's a tackle. So Fred took over for the Eagles offensive tackle. I'm trying to remember his name off the top of my head. Jordan Mailata. So Fred Johnson was filling in at left tackle for Jordan Mailata. And surprisingly, Trey Hendrickson did not have a lot of success against Fred Johnson at all. And they didn't even necessarily double team Trey Hendrickson. It was just Fred Johnson did a good job of one-on-one blocking Trey enough. Usually Trey takes the outside and tries to go all the way around. For some reason, he tried to go like straight through Fred, or maybe he knew. I guess because Fred played for the Bengals for so long, he knows what Trey Hendrickson's going to try to do. They went against each other in practice, I'm sure, hundreds of times. So they know each other, and maybe Fred had figured out, what Trey Hendrickson wants to do. Maybe Trey knew that, he knows that I know that that kind of chess game back and forth. So either way, it didn't end up working out in Trey Hendrickson's favor. I don't think he definitely didn't get a sack because the Bengals didn't get any sacks in this game against Jalen Hurts. I don't think Trey Hendrickson really got too much pressure or any hits on the quarterback really at all. So Trey Hendrickson, the Eagles did a good job of taking him and the rest of this Bengals pass rush out of the game. I'm trying to think of any other positives. I would say Joe Burrow at times was looking at the top of his game, especially the first drive. I don't know if he had an incomplete pass on that first drive. He was very accurate early. There were other times where he was not accurate. There were some throws that he missed, some passes that were just off, uncharacteristically, receivers that were open that he should have hit. He would expect. I mean, it wasn't a bad performance. He was over 70% completion, but I feel like there were some plays that he could have made. There were also some plays that Joe Burrow's receivers could have made for him. There was a number of drops in this game. I can think of a few just off the top of my head. So Joe Burrow, should have had over 75% completion in this game. Not a terrible game. He was careful with the ball in terms of not a lot of turnover-worthy plays, no interceptions thrown by Joe Burrow. He didn't put the ball in harm's way, didn't take a lot of risks with it. Only 1 sack. Joe Burrow did a great job of getting away from pressure. Unlike the Eagles quarterback, Jalen Hurts, who didn't have too much pressure on him, Joe Burrow actually did have a lot of pressure in his face. And except for one play where he really didn't have any chance to escape, he did a great job of getting away, escaping, and finding a receiver down the field or picking up yards with his feet. He picked up a couple first downs running it, showing off speed and athleticism he didn't, go off for another 50-yard touchdown run, but there was one play where he got tripped up but dove just at the last second to pick up a first down by like a foot. And there was the longest run that the Bengals had all day came from a Joe Burrow scramble that picked up another first down on like 3rd and 7 or something. Unfortunately, he only got 8 yards. So the longest run for the entire game by the Bengals was only 8 yards, not even a first down. I mean, they picked up first downs running, but not even 10 yards running the ball. And so that means the Bengals running backs were not very effective either. But staying in the positives, who else? Jamar Chase, he continued to have a solid performance. He had another touchdown catch. Let's check the box score real quick for Jamar Chase. 11 targets for Jamar Chase, 9 receptions, only 54 yards. So long of 13, average of 6 yards per catch. So that's 6 yards per catch. That's well below Jamar Chase's average. If I pull up his stats for the season, if I can real quick. His average yards per catch, 14 yards per catch this season. And he only got 6 yards per catch in this game. So like well below half of what he's used to getting. So maybe that was the impact of not having T. Higgins in this game to kind of stretch the defense, stretch the field out. But no real deep catches from Jamar Chase. We did see one deep catch from Jermaine Burton, the rookie who had been inactive in 1 or 2 games previously coming into this. He got a lot of playing time actually in this game. And let me pull up while I'm talking, I'll pull up the snap counts. But Jermaine Burton, that was good to see him getting more involved in the offense. He got 3 targets. He was only able to make 1 catch, but he showed off some veteran savvy of getting away with a little bit of a push-off at the end of this deep pass from Joe Burrow up the right sideline. But previously, he had an opportunity for his first touchdown catch. It was 3rd and goal. Joe Burrow put a pass up in the right corner of the end zone. Darius Slay, Eagles Pro Bowl cornerback, did a perfect job of looking back, seeing where the ball was, but also putting his hands up in between Jermaine Burton's hands, like straight in the middle of Jermaine Burton's hands. And Burton caught it. He had the ball in his hands, but Slay knocked the ball out, swiped right through, similar to Denzel Ward. Just how you coach it up. If you're a defensive back coach, this would be like the film you would want to show the guys of like how to play defensive back. It would be this. So it was a good throw by good throw by Joe Burrow. Good play by Jermaine Burton to get open. Just a better play by the Eagles. And that was kind of the theme. It wasn't that the Bengals necessarily played poorly. I mean, they made some bad plays that definitely shot themselves in the foot. It was not a good performance, but it was just that the Eagles made some really good plays, a lot more than the Bengals did. The Bengals made a few plays of their own, but it was the Eagles made so many more, much better plays than the Bengals. That was just like the difference. And so it wasn't like the game came down to one bad call or one thing that went against the Bengals. It was a thorough beating, like offensively, defensively, special teams, coaching, all the way around. Just Bengals got their butts kicked. So not a game we really want to celebrate too much. Okay, but I finally found it here. For the snap counts, Jermaine Burton got 24 offensive snaps, 41%. That's the most. I mean, he's only gotten like a handful of snaps going into this game. So 24, that's the most he's been involved in a game. He had one at the end of the first half. Looked like a miscommunication with Joe Burrow. He went deep. Joe Burrow tried to throw it to him, but Jermaine was looking inside. Joe Burrow threw it outside. It almost got intercepted. And so after that, Bengals just took a knee and went into the locker room at halftime. They were like, all right, that's enough of that shit. Almost getting picked off at the end of the half. Let's just take a knee and get out of here. But so we could see Joe Burrow was talking to Jermaine Burton, just getting on the same page about what each one of them saw. Because Jermaine Burton, it was weird. It was weird. Jermaine Burton, he looked back at Joe Burrow and waved his finger back like, no, don't do that. Like Dikembe Mutombo, no, with the finger wag. But it's like, he's a rookie wide receiver. He can't be saying no to Joe Burrow. Like, shut up, Jermaine Burton. It's always your fault. If you want Joe Burrow to throw you the ball again, you keep your fingers to yourself, buddy. Remember who you are. But I'm sure that those two are going to get on the same page. It was just a good learning experience, learning game for Jermaine Burton. It's just too bad that it has to come this late in the season. Why did it take this long? Take T. Higgins getting injured and having to be out. They had, Trent Irwin out there. I don't even know if he got a target. Trent Irwin was out there for 16 offensive plays. Our boy Andre Iosivas was out there for 88 snaps. He got 3 targets, but unfortunately Andre was not able to catch any of the targets. A couple of them were misfires or misreads by Joe Burrow. The first one almost got intercepted by Cooper DeJean, the Eagles rookie cornerback. He made a few good plays for the Eagles. I think they're their first round draft choice this past draft for the Eagles, number 33. Joe Burrow left a pass inside that was intended for Andre Iosivas up the right seam early in the first quarter. Luckily, DeJean dropped it, so it avoided a disaster. There was another pass, like a slant route over the left side to Andre, where Joe Burrow just missed it. I think it was maybe a little bit too far out in front of Andre. Andre was wide open, and he was just kind of trying to give Joe Burrow a nice, easy target. So he wasn't running at like top speed, but Joe Burrow threw it like he was running at top speed. It's just miscommunication, whatever it was. Joe Burrow put his hand to his chest, said, "My bad." Better leadership, instead of, that's what Jermaine Burton should have done. Jermaine Burton, whatever happens, if you're way off, you just put your head on your chest. "Oh yeah, Joe Burrow, my bad. Hey, we'll get it next time." That's what Joe Burrow did. The pass was off, wasn't catchable. Then there was another play where I think it was a third down in the second half. Andre Iosivas, he was slipping down to the ground. We saw that a few times on this fake artificial turf. Guys slip and not able to keep their footing because it's got these the fake rubber pellets on this plastic fake grass. So your cleats can't actually dig into any dirt or anything. It's always kind of a little bit less sticky in some cases. So Andre was kind of slipping down on his knees and reaching up to catch the pass. He had it in both hands, looked like it was totally secure, but then as he went to put the ball away, somehow it just slipped out and fell on the ground, and then he had to kind of quickly try to scoop it up and act like he didn't drop it. They called it a catch on the field, but then it was reviewed. Eagles threw a challenge flag, and it was overturned. You could see on instant replay, very obviously, Andre dropped the ball. It's weird that he dropped it. I don't know why they didn't interview him. There's really no explanation you could give. He had it in both hands. He had it, and he dropped it. I don't know what happened. It was weird. I think this is maybe a case of the gloves coming back to bite you, because there's pros and cons to everything, right? So you've got the gloves. They're super sticky. They make everything easy to grip, but sometimes your fine motor skills, in that fine dexterity of when you're trying to make very small, subtle movements like taking the ball and putting it away underneath your arm, you lose that because your fingers and your skin isn't making contact with the ball itself. And I know this is a terrible analogy. This is the only thing that I can really compare it to. But it would be like wearing the gloves and catching the ball is like having sex with a condom on. You just that fine touch sensation is lost if you don't have the direct contact. So I'm not saying that Andre should have gone raw dog with the no gloves, but just in that scenario, that's the only explanation that I can give for how the ball slipped out and he wasn't able to secure the catch. It's very rare that you see a wide receiver in the NFL in that situation not catch that pass. So it's just a weird, unfortunate situation for Andre, but people are going to look at the stat sheets and say he didn't play a good game because no catches on 3 targets and he dropped 1. And he has kind of had a quiet second or middle part of this season. He started off hot, 2 touchdowns in Kansas City, and he had a few big plays here and there, but he's kind of trailed off. And that's another factor of maybe not having T. Higgins in there. I don't know that T. Higgins would have made that much of a difference in this game. Maybe that's one small silver lining we could possibly take is after getting beat by 20. Now, the game did get away from the Bengals at the end. It was a close game. It was 10-10 going into halftime. It looked in the early part of the game like the Bengals were in control and they were going to win. And so things were going in the Bengals' favor early, and it was looking like they weren't necessarily missing T. Higgins that much. They figured out answers offensively to move the ball, pick up first downs, gain yards, get into scoring position multiple times. But maybe T. Higgins would have made some of these plays that the other guys didn't. Tough to say. It definitely wouldn't have. It would have helped for sure to have T. Higgins out there instead of being on the sidelines. But I don't know if he would have. I mean, T. Higgins can't play defense. Like the Bengals' defense obviously didn't do anything to really help themselves. Bengals' offense did commit. Well, I guess I take that back. I misspoke earlier when I said Joe Burrow didn't have any interceptions. He did have an interception. I forgot about this play late in the second half. Joe Burrow threw a pass to Jamar Chase, and the Eagles' defensive back just made an incredible play. It was similar to the Chiefs game a couple years ago where Jesse Bates tipped the pass to Von Bell. I think they were trying to throw it to Tyreek Hill deep. Tipped interception. Bengals got it. Similar type of play where the Eagles defender swatted the pass away from Jamar Chase at the last second, and the Eagles safety, Sidney Gardner-Johnson, came in to intercept it before he went out of bounds. So my mistake, Joe Burrow did have an interception in this game, but it wasn't necessarily a bad pass or a bad decision. It was just maybe a slightly imperfect throw based on the fact that the defender was able to get a hand on it and break it up. I think in that situation, it was because it was a backup defensive back going up against Jamar Chase one-on-one. You take that matchup every time. You figure Jamar Chase is the best wide receiver in the NFL or one of the best, and some guy is a backup for a reason. Darius Slay was out of the game with a groin injury at that point. So they had this backup guy in there. They're like, okay, let's throw it deep to Jamar Chase and see if we can make something happen. Unfortunately, the Eagles made something happen in their favor. There was things like that. There was, I guess we can just go through some of the play-by-play of the game to give you what happened in this game, really. So, Bengals, they started off first drive, touchdown drive. I'm trying to pull up the number of plays. 19 play drive, I guess if you count the kickoff. It was 18 plays. NFL.com always gives me like the wrong number of plays because they include like the extra point in the number of plays. Yeah, the kickoff is included. I don't know. It was like 18 plays. Whatever it was the longest drive in the NFL so far this season in terms of taking out time off the clock. Over 10 minutes on the first drive. Bengals went 70 yards, scored a touchdown, picked up a number of third down conversions. They had a 3rd and 1. They got a 7-yard pass to Gesicki. Then they had right after that, they had a 3rd and 8. They completed a 12-yard pass to Jamar Chase. Then they had a 3rd and 6. They completed a 9-yard pass to Zach Moss out of the middle. Just continuously driving it all the way down the field. They got to 3rd and 2 at the Eagles' 19-yard line. They got a 3-yard pass to Jamar Chase. Another first down. So they just kept moving it down the field. They got to the 12, 3rd and 6, another 9-yard pass to Gesicki. So, what is that? 5 third down conversions in the first drive of the game, and only 1 incomplete pass. It was a lot of passes. I think Joe Burrow completed, 6 or 7 passes in this first drive, and only a couple runs. But they just kept converting third down after third down after third down. The longest play that they had on the drive was 12 yards. But just a lot of dink and dunk, quick passing game, 4 yards, 5 yards here and there. They did enough. And then finally, they did a nice play design with Jamar Chase motioning into the backfield. And then he released out to the right flat. And so they had Jamar Chase one-on-one. I think it was with, not Nakobe Dean. I'll have to look up it was like a linebacker edge rusher. If you would imagine like a Joseph Osai or Miles Murphy trying to guard Jamar Chase. That's a big matchup. Not the type of player you'd want guarding one of the top wide receivers in the NFL. So Jamar Chase, I don't know if this was the design of the play, but he just kind of went into the end zone. Joe Burrow scrambled out to the right. He pointed with his thumb, motioned for Jamar to go back to the left, and he threw it back inside. Jamar caught it for a touchdown. He did the make it rain celebration, like, throwing out dollar bills. And Ian Eagle for CBS did a great call. He said, touchdown. What did he say? He was like, money, Burrow to Chase, put it in the bank. Great call by Ian Eagle. And Charles Davis was along for some more great calls. Charles Davis, much better at pronouncing Yosivash this game. I think this is the second game where they called the Bengals. And he was a little bit iffy with the pronunciation last time. But this time he learned from his mistakes, and he nailed that Yosivash. Ian Eagle, obviously we know he's 100% with the pronunciations. But Bengals got off to a 7-0 lead and took a bunch of time off the clock. So that was great. Usually that's the way the Bengals want to play it. Take time off the clock, shorten the game down. And that was crazy how short this game. I guess that's another positive is as bad as this game went, it was over fast because they were running the ball, keeping the ball in bounds. And this game, I think it was probably under 3 hours. So anytime you can get a game over with in 3 hours, that's great. Because I love when, you get an entertaining game, but it also doesn't last forever. And you feel like as an audience, they are respecting your time. I feel like that's a term they use a lot in video game parlance of respecting the player's time and not making them do unnecessary things that aren't fun. They don't add to the experience. They're just wasting your time for no reason. Just get rid of all that stuff. Just let me play the game and have fun and get to all the good stuff and not waste my time for no reason, just for the sake of saying the game is, 15 or 20 hours long. Oh, you get to play for 20 hours. Oh yeah, but 10 of them are just completely wasted on nothing. So I like it. I don't need a 4-hour football game if it's just a bunch of commercials and a bunch of, instant replay reviews or penalty flags or anything like that. That was another positive in this game is very few interruptions for penalty flags or injuries or reviews or anything. Very fast moving, clean game. Zac Taylor after the game praised the officials, the officiating crew about their communication and how good they were. But it's also easy to praise them when the Bengals only committed one penalty all day, or they only got one penalty accepted all day. So that was a positive. Maybe the only thing that the Bengals beat the Eagles at in the stat sheet was number of penalties committed or not committed. So Bengals defense, to their credit, they were able to hold the Eagles on their first drive to a field goal only. Eagles weren't able to respond and tie up the game after the Bengals scored a touchdown. They came out, they moved the ball, 11 plays, 62 yards to pick up a number of first down, including a 29-yard pass to A.J. Brown over the middle on 2nd and 8. There was a holding penalty that kind of set the Eagles back when they were getting into the red zone on the Bengals. They got a holding penalty on a Jalen Hurts scramble that put them back into 2nd and 22. They got only 7 yards to get 3rd and 15. And then 3rd and 15, Jalen Hurts tried to throw deep to A.J. Brown against Cam Taylor-Britt. Pretty good coverage by Cam Taylor-Britt, but the pass went way out of bounds, so uncatchable, no opportunity for A.J. Brown to even make any attempt at it. Eagles had to settle for a 39-yard Jake Elliott field goal, which was good, made it 7-3 Bengals, and they're already into 1 minute into the second quarter at that point after only 2 combined drives. Bengals got the ball back, and they had another pretty long drive of 11 plays, 61 yards, took 4.5 minutes off the clock, but they had to settle for a field goal on this drive. They weren't able to get it into the end zone. This is the drive that ended with that Jermaine Burton incomplete pass in the right corner of the end zone where Darius Slay just made a good play on it, and it was 4th and 3. They were talking about on the broadcast, would they go for it on 4th down? It was at the Eagles' 9-yard line. If they had maybe picked up a yard or two on that 3rd down instead of getting the incomplete pass, maybe if it was a 4th and short, like 4th and inches or 4th and 1, Bengals would have considered it. But 4th and 3 is a little bit too long, a little bit too risky for Zac Taylor's blood. Kicked the field goal, which 27 yards, good from Evan McPherson, put the Bengals up on top 10-0 with 9.5 minutes left to go in the second quarter. In hindsight, if you want to go back and really examine everything, the first 2 kicks from Evan McPherson, the field goal and the extra point on the first touchdown that they had, he didn't kick the ball straight down the middle. It didn't really matter because both of those kicks were so short, 27 and 38 on the extra point. It was good, but it wasn't quite perfectly centered. It was a little bit off to the left, but nowhere close to missing. But when it's that short, I know those kickers really want to get it like dead center so that it would be good from, a longer distance, even though it's short. So just, in hindsight, maybe we could say Evan was just kind of a little bit left aligned on this day for whatever reason. I don't know. But that would come back to haunt the Bengals. But so Bengals are up 10-3 at this point. And then next drive, Eagles get it back. 8 plays. They only get 18 yards and have to punt. So Bengals force a couple of incomplete passes. Good job on defense. They're able to prevent the Eagles from getting too much going. This drive was maybe the Eagles' least successful. The Bengals were able to stop a couple of the runs that Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley had, limit the gains to short 2 and 3 yard gains, and then force incomplete passes from Jalen Hurts on 3rd and 3 that forced a punt. Went into the end zone, so no return from Charlie Jones. Touchback went back to the Bengals. Bengals got the ball back with 6.5 minutes left to go in the second quarter, and they moved the ball. Incomplete pass on 1st and 10. This is where Jamar Chase, he was open on a deep out, but he just kind of fell down. And I don't know if he would have caught it because it looked like it probably would have been a good pass from Joe Burrow. It's just that Jamar Chase fell down. So he was frustrated on that one. But next play, 2nd and 10, 41-yard pass deep up the right sideline to Jermaine Burton. His second catch of the season and another deep pass. That is his average for catches is going to be about 40 yards per catch at this rate. But that put the Bengals in good field position at the Eagles' 39-yard line. They got a 3-yard run from Chase Brown. Incomplete pass to Andre where it was just a little bit off from Joe Burrow. Andre Yosivas, a little bit off. Incomplete pass to Gesicki over the middle. I think this was a blitz. The Eagles sent a blitz. Joe Burrow didn't have enough time, had to throw it away, and they couldn't get anything accomplished, so they had to settle for a Evan McPherson 54-yard field goal attempt, which was no good, wide left. They showed on the replay, it looked like a good snap, good hold, laces out, no bobble with the hold or anything like that. It looked like Evan just kind of leaned his body a little bit too far left, because normally Evan, kind of like a golfer, when they have a good swing and a good follow through, they have good balance where they're usually, they balanced on that lead leg with the follow through evenly. If you have a bad swing, sometimes in golf, you bad swing and your follow through, you kind of fall off to the side or fall away if you're off balance. Evan kind of looked the same way where after he kicked it, he kind of fell off to the left, like his balance was too far one way. Maybe he was trying to really swing hard and put extra oomph into this because it was a little bit of a longer kick and got out of his technique and his form of, his good form, and maybe try to do a little bit too much. But he just pushed it or pulled it, hooked it to the left. And he said after the game that he was a little bit too far left and the wind was going that way a little bit. So it amplified the miss, made it even worse. So we don't know. Evan's normally been pretty successful with those long kicks. And I know 54 yards is pretty long, but we see kickers make much longer kicks. We've seen, the kicker for the Cowboys, Brandon Aubrey, try kicks from almost 70 yards this season. So, from 60 at least, I would think we would count on Evan to make this. So we'll have to figure out, Evan said there was nothing wrong with the hold, nobody to blame but himself. So he said, he's like, well, I haven't missed any in pregame warmups or in practice. I've been pretty good. Like if Pro Bowl was based off pregame warmups, I'd be in the Pro Bowl this year. It's like, well, they're not. They're based on what you do in the game. So it would be nice if you could make some of those kicks in the game. So this was maybe the first crack in the armor, or the first part in the game where the things didn't quite go the Bengals' way, where they had a touchdown drive, they had a field goal, and really this is the end of the first half, and the Bengals have only had the ball 3 times. So there's not much that they could have done anyway, but second drive, they get the field goal. Third drive, they end in a missed field goal, and they give the ball back at the Eagles' roughly 40-yard line. Where do they take over here? Take over at their own 44-yard line. They've got 5 minutes left to go in the second quarter, and the Eagles are going to get the ball to start the second half. So this is what Zac Taylor always talks about, getting that double dip. You score right before halftime, and then you get the ball back and score again right to start the second half. Get the extra momentum. So that's obviously what the Eagles are thinking too. I don't believe in momentum, by the way. The points count the same no matter when you score them or how you do it. But Eagles, unfortunately, were able to pick up enough yardage. They got a long pass to their tight end, Calcaterra, over the left side, catch and run. There was some penalties. There was an unnecessary roughness penalty on this drive where the Eagles, one of the backup Eagles offensive linemen, because they had 2 backup offensive linemen in the game to start, and one of these guys, Tyler Steen, I think it was, came in and tried to clean up the pile after the whistle. It was, they say, play through the whistle or up until the whistle. He was coming in late, really, when the play was already over and picking people off the pile. Unnecessary 15-yard penalty that put the Eagles into 3rd and 16. But unfortunately, on 3rd and 16, Jalen Hurts completed a pass to A.J. Brown for 17 yards to convert it. So it looked just like when it looked like the Bengals had the Eagles stopped, the drive was going to stall out and they were going to prevent the Eagles from potentially tying up the game and scoring. Eagles convert. Eagles picked up another first down right after this with a design quarterback keeper run, quarterback follow play where Jalen Hurts caught the snap and the running back Saquon Barkley led up the middle as a lead blocker, almost like a fullback. And Saquon Barkley got like a double team block on B.J. Hill with one of his other offensive linemen that really opened up a huge hole in the Bengals defense. Jalen Hurts ran up, I don't know if this may have been a different play. There was one play where Jalen Hurts completely faked out Von Bell out of his shoes and got a bunch of extra yards, but they picked up 12 yards in this one. They got a couple of short yards, but this is when the Eagles started going for their quarterback sneak, the play that they've done so well with Jalen Hurts, who can squat 600 pounds. They put him, Saquon Barkley, a tight end, get them all jammed in close to the middle, and everybody just kind of rugby scrum push as one giant mass of humanity over top of the defense and just pick up that 1 yard that they need on 4th down or short yardage. They tried it a couple times. I think the second time was the charm for this one. It initially was called no touchdown, but then after review, the camera showed that Jalen Hurts had extended the ball just far enough over the goal line to score the touchdown. That made it, after the extra point was good from the Eagles, that made it 10-10. Tie game. And after that, there was 30 seconds left to go in the first half. Bengals didn't really do anything. Like I said, they threw a pass that almost got intercepted, and then they just took a knee after that and went in. So tie game, 10-10, feeling pretty good. But obviously the Eagles were going to get the ball to start the second half. But going in, they asked Zac Taylor what he thought was going to be the difference in the game. And Zac Taylor, I guess to his credit, he called it. He was right. He said the difference was going to be the turnover battle and special teams and kicking game. Kicking game really didn't make that much of a difference. I mean, he was referring to the fact that they missed a field goal right there. So it didn't come down to a field goal in the end. That would have been nice if it came down to a field goal, but they lost by 20. It was mostly the turnovers. And Zac Taylor said, it could come down to a 1-0 turnover battle. It was actually a 3-0 turnover battle, or officially, or actually, whichever way you want to think about it, Bengals you could have said they had 4 turnovers because they missed a field goal. There's a play, Bengals didn't get it on 4th down that they went for it. We'll get to later, but they didn't convert that. They threw the interception, and then there was a fumble later on. So a bunch of turnovers when you do that. And the thing that was weird was the Eagles had not been on the positive side of the turnover battle in their game against their opponents in something like 13 straight games. They had either an interception or more fumbles or just their defense hadn't created any turnovers for their opponents. This is the first game the Eagles were able to successfully do that in over a year. So that was indeed the difference in this game. So we took a look at the first half summary. Score tied 10-10. At that point, Bengals had a 3-minute time of possession advantage. Yards were pretty even in terms of net yards, but the way that they were getting them was much different. The Bengals had 157 passing yards and 17 yards running, whereas the Eagles were much more balanced offense. They had 153 total yards, 86 passing, 67 rushing. So much more even in terms of rushing and passing the ball. Bengals on third downs in the first half were 7 of 9, 77, almost 78%. Eagles were 3 for 6, 50%. No punts for the Bengals, 1 punt for the Eagles of 52 yards that went into the end zone for a touchback, so a net of 20. I don't think the Bengals punted at all in this game. We didn't get a chance to see Ryan Rico's leg. We'll get to that in a moment. But pretty even statistically at halftime. Obviously, the score is tied 10-10. Pretty clean game, pretty quick game. So it was pretty entertaining, pretty good game. It didn't feel like it was necessarily one team had the advantage over the other. So from a neutral perspective, not bad. So we get into the second half. The Eagles get the ball to start, and they drive it down. 9 plays, 70 yards. A couple of long passes in this drive. There was a 15-yard pass over the middle to Devontae Smith on 3rd and 5 that converted it. Pretty decent coverage by DJ Turner, but not able to get there in time to break up the pass. Then the next play, this is a deep pass it was a catch and run short to the left to Grant Calcaterra, who picked up 28 yards running up the left sideline all the way to the Bengals' 22-yard line. So they were in scoring position. They got a couple decent runs, picking up a first down on 3rd and 3, picked up 8 yards with a Saquon Barkley run off right tackle. And then the Eagles were able to punch it in with a Jalen Hurts. I guess it was, I don't know, I think they faked it with the read option. So they had been so effective with Saquon Barkley that when they faked it with a run up the middle, all the Bengals defense had to respect that and go for the fake. That let Jalen Hurts keep it and run around the right end, and he was able to outrun the Bengals defensive end, number 99, Myles Murphy, second-year player out of Clemson. He didn't have enough speed to catch Jalen Hurts, and he ran around him for the 7-yard touchdown into the end zone. There was a tight end stock blocking DJ Turner, the cornerback, who was out in the end zone on the right side, who had the outside. He wasn't able to come up and make a play on the tackle because he was getting blocked. Good block, good play design, and seeing that they're going to have a one-on-one matchup, Jalen Hurts against a defensive end running to the edge. Jalen Hurts has got the speed to outrun even a fast defensive end like Myles Murphy. That was one of the things that was supposed to be the big strength of Myles Murphy, was his speed and size. That's why he went in the first round, is because he ran something like 4.6 or 4.5 or something crazy for his size and speed, but not fast enough on this play to get Jalen Hurts and keep him out of the end zone. So at that point, Eagles took a 17-10 lead. But to their credit, Bengals didn't fold up the tents there. They had a strong response, a strong 14-play, 70-yard touchdown drive of their own to match the Eagles and go blow for blow for them. Again, the Bengals were able to pick up a third and 6. They got 7 yards, pass to Mike Gesicki. That's the thing was so interesting is the next drive after this. This is the drive where they had 2nd and 8, pass to Andre Joseph. Looked like it was going to be for 10 yards, complete. But after a review, all the Eagles players were waving, no, incomplete. It was incomplete. Andre dropped the ball, unfortunately, as we know. Next play, this is where Joe Burrow scrambles to the right, and Zach Bond, the linebacker for the Eagles, just gets a shoelace enough to trip up Joe Burrow before he can break out and get a long run. But Joe Burrow dives and extends the ball just enough at the end to pick up that first down. So 3rd and 8, they pick up about 8.5 yards. That's the thing, that the Bengals are picking up these first downs on 3rd down, but they're always just by the skin of their teeth. It's like 3rd and 7, they'll get 8. 3rd and 8, they'll get 8.5. So I don't know. Some people call that efficiency. Like Dave Lapham was going on and on after the game about, oh my God, coach, can you believe? I think they were like 10 for 13 converting 3rd downs. Like, oh, the 3rd down conversions were unbelievable, and you guys only scored 17 points. Can you believe it, coach? Yeah, because getting into that many 3rd downs means you're not moving the ball. Like, it would be better to not even get into 3rd down. Like, that game against the Washington Commanders, they had a drive where they literally never had a 3rd down once because they got first down on 1st or 2nd down, never even had to get into 3rd down. So that, if you're picking up enough yards where you don't need to go to 3rd down at all, that is offensive efficiency. Not getting to a bunch of 3rd downs and just by the skin of your teeth converting them by like a fingernail. That's not necessarily the way you want the offense to work. That seems to be the strategy for Zac Taylor in the offense, is just get like 3.5 yards every play, and if we run that play 3 times, we'll get 10.5 yards. It's like, it would be better if you could just get 10 yards all in one play. What about that? Have you guys thought about that perhaps? They did try a couple of deep passes. Didn't really have a lot of success with the deep pass in this game, but they definitely didn't have any success with the runs. Like we said, that Joe Burrow 8-yard run was the longest run the Bengals had all game. Chase Brown and Zach Moss, as they have done most of the season, weren't able to get anything going. But even Chase Brown, like, he usually was able to bust off at least 5 or 6, 7-yard run on a consistent basis. But this game, the Eagles just had them bunched up at the line of scrimmage. They weren't able to get any space at all. The Eagles' defensive line was doing a good job of dominating up front at the line of scrimmage. Bengals offensive line wasn't able to get any movement most of the running plays. The complete opposite was obvious when you looked at the Eagles. When they were on offense, their Eagles offensive line was just like snow plowing the Bengals defensive line at the snap out of the way. Just like you could see everybody just move 2 or 3 yards in the Eagles' direction. And on the Bengals, on their side, nobody moved. It was always just like a stalemate. Nobody's going anywhere. So that was really one of the biggest differences, is just that wave of bodies up front was going in the Eagles' favor more often than not. But like I said, on this drive, Joe Burrow picked up that first down with that scramble, and then they were able to just do enough to keep the chains moving with more positive, consistent plays. Nothing long, but 4-yard run, 9-yard pass to Zach Moss, 13-yard pass to Jamar Chase, where he was going one-on-one with Quinyon Mitchell, the rookie first-round pick from Toledo. And they both were doing a little bit of pushing, hand fighting. Jamar Chase got away with a little bit of a push maybe at the top of the route, and defender got called for the interference penalty, but it didn't matter. Jamar Chase caught it. Penalty was declined anyway. There was another pass to Jamar Chase over the middle for 12 yards. Big first down to get it into first and goal at the Eagles' 8-yard line. They actually completed a pass to Trenton Irwin where it looked like maybe Trenton had an opportunity to get into the end zone, but it was a good tackle by Cooper DeJean to just keep it to a 4-yard gain. So good tackling in this game by Cooper DeJean. We'll see that later. But fortunately, Bengals are able to punch it in for a touchdown, 4-yard run on second and goal from Chase Brown. Dives up the middle. Good hole by the Bengals. Eagles aren't able to, linebackers aren't able to step up and make a stop in the hole. So Chase Brown gets in. He does the same celebration as Jamar Chase. Not a lot of creativity. He does the making it rain with the money again. So maybe, he just couldn't think of anything original, or maybe that's just what all the kids are into these days. I don't know. But so you got to get, don't copy another man's touchdown celebration. Chase Brown, you got to come up with your own. Be a little creative there. But that was good for the Bengals to tie the game back up at 17-17 all. Feeling good if the Bengals are able to stop the Eagles and get the ball back. They could get the lead back and get things going back in their favor. They have, in theory, successfully halted the Eagles' imaginary momentum, because the Eagles got the touchdown before halftime. They got the touchdown after halftime. That's all the momentum. I told my friend, oh shit, Zac Taylor is going to be telling these guys in the halftime, we got to get the momentum back, you guys. So they went out there. They got the momentum with that touchdown drive. But unfortunately, the Eagles did not care about that. They got the ball back. They had a 23-yard pass to A.J. Brown deep out with Cam Taylor-Britt. I don't know if it was man or zone, because A.J. Brown went in motion across the formation from the left to the right. He ended up being the widest guy out to the right. Cam Taylor-Britt was in coverage, and Cam backpedaled and flipped his hips to bail out. So when you're like a defensive back, you can only backpedal so long, because obviously running forwards is a lot faster than backpedaling. So if you're getting a lot of pressure, at a certain point you need to turn and run down the field instead of backpedaling. Cam Taylor-Britt really bailed out of his backpedal early on this pass, and A.J. Brown quickly, he ran up the field for about 10 yards and did a quick out to about a 15-yard out. Cam Taylor-Britt was still bailing out, running backwards, and instead of planting his foot and driving into this out, he's done this a couple times where he does like a baseball turn, like he's a baseball outfielder, where he'll turn his back completely to the ball, completely to the receiver, and almost do like a 360 spin all the way around to meet up with the receiver on the sideline. And unfortunately, he came up and tried to make a tackle, then he missed the tackle. So A.J. Brown, I think he missed the tackle on that one, but it was a 23-yard pass. But he's done this a couple times where he does this baseball turn totally turning his back like 360 away from the guy. That's never going to end up unless the quarterback misses the throw and accidentally throws it like down the field at you. Doing a 360 baseball turn away from the receiver normally is not going to end in a good result for you as a defender. It just makes it way too easy for them to complete the pass. We've seen that just because he had like 10 yards of separation away from Cam Taylor-Britt. Because Cam Taylor-Britt's, running down the field, baseball turning, instead of getting, a foot in the ground, planning, driving back onto the out route. Way too easy of a completion. And then that got the ball out of the Eagles' territory to about midfield after that, head at the Bengals' 45-yard line. Jalen Hurts scrambles around a little bit, buys time, and throws it past deep across the left side of the field. I think it was a play action. Maybe they faked the run to Saquon Barkley. Then Jalen Hurts scrambles, throws it deep over the middle, and he's got Devontae Smith, his wide receiver, and Jordan Battle, number 27, safety for the Bengals. For some reason, he was in the game instead of Von Bell at this point, because I think Geno Stone was in there. I don't know why they had Jordan Battle in the game, because normally he wasn't playing at all on defense. But they had him in there. It was 2nd and 8, so it wasn't like it was a passing situation. I don't know. It was weird that Jordan Battle was even in the game at this point. But whatever. Jordan Battle was in. He was trying to guard Devontae Smith. The problem was on this 45-yard deep pass, the ball was hanging up in the air for 3+ seconds. In that entire time, Jordan Battle did not turn his head around to look for where the ball was once, because he was running behind Devontae Smith trying to catch up. And it's a tough matchup. I'm not saying it's easy to try to run with Devontae Smith, who was a Heisman Trophy winner in college, obviously for a reason. He's an amazing athlete. These two guys were teammates at Alabama, if I'm not mistaken. And actually, if I think about it, I think Jalen Hurts may have been at Alabama at the same time or around the same years as these two, Jordan Battle and Devontae Smith. So maybe some familiarity. I don't know if these two guys went in practice against each other, because they interviewed Jordan Battle after the game. What happened on that touchdown? So it's a long pass. Jordan Battle doesn't get his head around. Devontae Smith catches it over Jordan Battle, and Jordan Battle, unlike Darius Slay or Denzel Ward for the Browns last week, he's not able to get his hand in between the receiver's hands to break it up. He doesn't look. He's in. I mean, it's not terrible coverage. Like, he's there, kind of. He's within a foot or so of the receiver, but he never sees the ball. He doesn't get his hands up. He doesn't make a play on the ball. So it's like he's there, but he might as well not even be there, because he doesn't do anything to really affect the play or affect the receiver or prevent him from scoring a touchdown. So they asked him, what could he have done better after, on that play. And he just kind of said, he's a good player. He made a good play, and I can just make a better play on the ball and get my head around. Obviously, that's all true. I'm not saying it's an easy play to make, but in the NFL, if the ball is in the air for that long, you would at least like to think the guy could at least kind of get his head cocked a little bit, just get an eye on it. But maybe that's just part of the disadvantage of Jordan Battle, is he's not very fast. I think he runs like a 4.5 or a 4.6. So at that point in his mind, he was probably just struggling to run and keep up and do everything just to get back into the play, and he didn't really have time to look backwards. So whatever it was not a good play by Jordan Battle. Gave up the touchdown, longest play of the day for the Eagles after the extra point that put them up 24-17. Bengals got the ball back with a little bit of time left to go in the third quarter. This was unfortunately not a very successful drive for the Bengals at all. They got it on their own 30-yard line. Touchback, no return. Picked up 8 yards on another Joe Burrow scramble to the right. He gets forced out of bounds by Zach Bond, the linebacker, again. And so that's 2 8-yard runs by Joe Burrow. I didn't realize the 2 longest runs of the day were 8 yards by Joe Burrow, and he had 2 of them. But then they had a Chase Brown run for 1 yard on second and 2. So that brought up 3rd and 1. They put in an extra offensive lineman, Matt Lee, the rookie, he's mostly a center, I think, but he's become their de facto backup offensive lineman because at this point, I forgot to mention, and we just found this out, Orlando Brown Jr., their Bengals starting left tackle, is out of the game again. He came out after halftime with no helmet, just standing on the sidelines like he did in the game against the Browns last week. Apparently, that same injury that he got against the Browns kind of flared up on him a little bit throughout the first half. When he went in at halftime, maybe he talked to the trainers, and they just decided better for him not to continue playing for the rest of the game. So Orlando Brown Jr. was out for the rest of the game. They're already out. So he was standing next to T. Higgins on the sideline. So they had to put in Cody Ford, their backup offensive tackle, number 61 for the Bengals. With him being on the field, now Matt Lee, their 7th offensive lineman, becomes that extra offensive lineman. So he comes in. This is a long story, but Matt Lee comes in to be the extra offensive lineman with Cody Ford and the rest of these guys. They try a Zach Moss run up the middle for no gain. Brandon Graham, 15th year in the NFL, and he proved it again on this play. He was getting double teamed, and he was just standing up 2 guys single-handedly and making the tackle. Unbelievable play from Brandon Graham. Continues to show why he is getting it done, even though he's been in the league for so long. Even though he was on the other team, you got to root for guys like Brandon Graham because he's a gregarious, boisterous personality. You could see he was giving Eric All shit like one of the first plays of the game because Eric All came in off the edge and tried to cut Brandon Graham's legs, and Brandon Graham didn't like that at all. He got up at Eric All's face. He was telling him, hey, hit me up high. You can see him pointing to his face, like, hit me in the face if you're going to hit me. Don't go at my knees, young blood. But I love it when you get the microphone and the audio and you can hear what these players are saying. Sometimes, because they have to bleep it out a lot of the time. You can't hear or broadcast a lot of what these guys are saying down there. So they have to, mute a lot of it. But when you are able to hear some of the calls, it's kind of funny. I thought there was a moment where the Eagles were on offense where one of the offensive linemen told Fred Johnson, alert for asparagus, which didn't make any sense. But I heard like, alert, Fred, watch for asparagus. And then the play happened, and then I heard like, asparagus. That's what I heard. I don't know if that's what he was actually saying. Probably not, because that's too many syllables. It would be a weird call to have asparagus be a call for your offensive line. But it was something like that. I couldn't figure out what it was. But anyway, all kinds of cool audio you can hear. So many different things to take in this game. But anyway, back to this Bengals drive. I'm getting sidetracked. So this was a critical moment in the game. Bengals are down by 7 points, 24-17. This is their second drive of the second half, and it's a decision time. It's 4th and 1. Bengals had just tried 2 run plays and got combined 1 yard. The Bengals are on their own 37-yard line, so it's not like they're in Eagles territory or they're down close to scoring. They're in their own end. So even if the Bengals get it, there's no guarantee they're going to score points, even if they convert. But Zac Taylor decides to keep the offense on the field and go for it on 4th and 1. On CBS, Charles Davis, even before the play happened, he was questioning this call. He's saying, this is a risk because at this point in the game, you're only down by 1 touchdown. And Charles Davis was saying that he would prefer to punt the ball away, trust your defense to get a stop. Maybe Ryan Rico can hit a perfect punt like he did in that game against the Ravens, where he punted it right in the corner of the end zone, and Dejon Anthony was able to knock it out of bounds at the 1 yard line, pinning the Ravens deep in their own territory. And then Sam Hubbard got that safety where he was able to sneak in there and tackle Derrick Henry in the backfield before he was able to get out of his own end zone. And that was a big difference in that game that kept the Bengals in that game as long as they were against the Ravens. Bengals opted not to go for that strategy. I don't know why. Zac Taylor, after the game, he said he didn't question the decision to go for it in this situation. They did go for it. and they didn't get it. And hindsight's 2020. Charles Davis was saying after they didn't get it, I told you so. But the play that they ran was also not a very good play. They motioned Jamar Chase all over the backfield, and you could see that the rookie Cooper DeJean, number 33 for the Eagles, was following Jamar Chase in man-to-man, one-on-one, just mirroring whichever way Jamar Chase, he went the same way. So Jamar started on the left, he went inside, then he went back to the outside, then at the last second he went motion all the way back, all the way to the right, and Cooper DeJean followed him everywhere that he went. At the snap, Joe Burrow got it, quick pass to Jamar behind the line of scrimmage, about 2 or 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Cooper DeJean is already in motion at the snap, running at Jamar Chase. So as the ball is in the air, he comes driving up onto Jamar Chase. Right as Jamar catches the ball, DeJean is there to make the tackle in the backfield. Jamar doesn't have time to make a move on him or get away or really do anything. He just makes the catch and gets tackled pretty much right where he is for a 2-yard loss. So 4th and 1, Bengals do not convert. They give the ball back to the Eagles at their own 37-yard line. So a huge swing in this game. Not being able to convert it obviously takes away a scoring opportunity for the Bengals, but also sets the Eagles up in a perfect opportunity to score. After that, Charles Davis was saying, he was questioning it after the game. Zac Taylor said that he didn't question the decision to go for it there. He only questioned the play call. Obviously, you got to question it because it was not successful. And I don't know, obviously they called the play because they thought it was going to work. The defense, maybe they thought Cooper DeJean wasn't as good as he was. I don't know what they thought, but obviously it didn't work. And Zac Taylor, after the game, said he needed to call a better play. And then Monday, if he hadn't have said this, I was thinking it. I would have said this. And so Zac Taylor said that he should have, in that situation, not thrown behind the line of scrimmage. Call a play where you're throwing it beyond the line of scrimmage. So if you're 4th and 1, throw a pass where you're going to pick up 2 or 3 yards at least. Don't throw a pass where you're going -2 and then expect Jamar Chase to break a tackle or pick up the extra 3 yards after making the catch. Don't count on the yak yards necessarily, yards after catch. Let the guy catch it with the first down already. And the Bengals have done that a number of times this season with varying degrees of success. I'm thinking about the first game of the season. Similar concept where they tried to throw the wide receiver screen to Andre Iosivas to the right side where they had Jamar Chase and Trenton Irwin blocking. And it was another situation where the Bengals did not have the numbers advantage. They had 3 receivers for 4 defenders in game 1 against the Patriots. And so Trenton Irwin and Jamar Chase, they blocked their 2 guys one-on-one, but that left 2 defenders to tackle Andre Iosivas. And he caught it behind the line of scrimmage. He tried to turn up. He wasn't able to make the guy miss and get enough for the first down. He got stopped short of the yards to gain. There's another game, I can't remember, it might have been the Commanders game where the Bengals had it on 4th and goal at the 1-yard line, and Andre Iosivas was on the right side, came out, caught the ball right at the goal line, just like 6 inches maybe across the goal line, but not very much space. I would have preferred him to be already well within the end zone. So similar type of play where the Bengals offense is very fine margins they're giving themselves of. This play would have had to work so perfectly for Jamar Chase to catch this ball, get enough space and separation to pick up that extra 3 yards that he needs. It just wasn't really going to happen. And so the play design was bad. Zac Taylor admitted that. He said after the game, that's 100% on him. Obviously, because he's the play caller, he's the head coach. It's got to be on him. And the players can't really do anything about it because they're not the ones calling the plays. They just have to execute the plays that the coach tells them to run. So Jamar Chase said Yeah, he wished that they had called a different play, run something different. Obviously, it didn't work. But Jamar Chase, that's not his job. He just can only do what the coaches tell him to do. So if they call a play that's not going to work, he can only do so much with it. Unfortunate. Good play by the Eagles. Good play on the Eagles defense. Cooper DeJean made a good tackle. Maybe a lesser defensive back would not have been able to make that. Maybe the Bengals thought they could. I don't know what. Like I said, it was a weird play. Kind of shot themselves in the foot on that one. But to the defense's credit, they did not at least give up a touchdown. They only gave up a field goal to the Eagles. After Bengals didn't pick up that fourth down, Bengals were able to force a couple of short gains or no gains on the ground from Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts. They got a short 6-yard pass, but other than that, not much offensively. But Eagles made their long 49-yard field goal from Jake Elliott to go up 27-17, 10-point lead at that point. So there's 13 and a half minutes left to go in the fourth quarter. Bengals are down by 10. Not out of the realm of possibility still at this point, but the Bengals offense got to get something going. Down by 10, fourth quarter, got to get something going on. Bengals, they start off pretty well. They get a first down off after a couple of passes. One to Eric All for 4 yards, then another pass to Mike Gesicki for 12 yards. But then I think that the 12-yard, that might have been the one-handed catch from Gesicki. Amazing catch. But no, it couldn't have been because this was going the opposite direction. But Mike Gesicki continuing to make plays and getting first downs. Most of Gesicki's catches went for first downs in this game. But then another fateful pass. This is where Joe Burrow goes back to pass, plenty of time, throws it to Jamar Chase deep down the field. Isaiah Rodgers is the backup defensive back who's in the game. He tips the pass to his teammate, and you can't even, they didn't even realize it got intercepted initially. They thought that the defender had knocked the ball down, so they thought it was incomplete. And Jamar Chase reacted like it was going to be incomplete. He didn't even think it was intercepted. But then they were like, oh, wait a minute. Did that guy catch it? And just like the officials took a minute, said interception. Everybody kind of realized slowly, oh, wait a minute. That looked like an incomplete pass. Actually, now it's the Eagles' ball. So like I said, it wasn't a terrible decision, not a terrible pass, just not quite a perfect pass and a really good play by the Eagles defense. Eagles get the ball at their own 15-yard line. They're up by 10 points. So at this point, they would like to score, but their biggest objective is to keep the clock running. So that's what they did. They ran the ball. And so this is the time where they were talking about the two different offenses. The Eagles are a running team. Bengals are a passing team. And in this point in the game, the Eagles, it's playing into their strength because they want to run and they're a running team. And unfortunately, the thing that the Bengals aren't really so good at on defense is stopping the run. They're pretty good at stopping the pass, but not so great at stopping the run. In fact, they made some adjustments in the second half. Instead of Sheldon Rankins, it seemed like they put in more Lawrence Guy and Chris Jenkins and McKinley Jackson. And they didn't really have any better luck, not much more success. But some of those backup defensive tackles were just maybe they're getting tired. It was kind of a warm day, but they were doing anything. They weren't blitzing because I think the Bengals knew that the blitz was probably not going to work against the Eagles' offensive line. They weren't going to be able to do anything. So Louis Anarumo, I don't know if there was an answer out there. Sometimes there just aren't any answers, no matter what you call. The other team has your number. But Eagles were effectively able to move the ball, just mostly short plays, pick up, it's easy to pick up first down when you get like 7 yards or 6 yards on every run. It'd be like first down, they get a 5 or 6 yard run. That makes it a lot easier to convert on all the rest of those. That's what the Eagles pretty much did. They got a 119-yard run by Saquon Barkley up the middle, but most of it was short stuff. They had another 17-yard run after that by Saquon Barkley to get down to the Bengals 1 yard line, and then the Eagles did another quarterback sneak play up the middle. I'll refer to it as brotherly shove. They called it the tush push. I don't really like the tush push either. But the thing is, I think brotherly shove is more clever because obviously Philadelphia Eagles, Philadelphia, city of brotherly love. So it's that play on words there. That's cool because the Eagles are the only team that can really do it with this type of success. So this is kind of their signature play. But brotherly shove is too many syllables to say easily on broadcast for a lot of people. So it's just tush push, just, 2 syllables, rolls off the tongue a lot easier. So that's probably why it has taken off. And it's more of a generic term because you could use it for any team, not just the Eagles. But unfortunately, that play works like a charm again against the Bengals. I think the Eagles tried this at least 5 times in the game and were successful on at least 4 of them. The Bengals didn't really have much success stopping the brotherly shove play, but they don't have that kind of meat up front. That's not the Bengals' strength. So unfortunately, at this point in the game, Eagles extend their lead to 17 points late into the fourth quarter. There's 4.5 minutes left, and that's just how quick it turned around because if we go back up here, before this interception, before the field goal, it was still 17-17. I'm looking when it was tied 17-17 in the last 4 minutes left to go. No, Eagles scored with about 2.5 minutes left to go in the third quarter. So with 3 minutes left to go in the third quarter, the score was tied 17-17. And then if we skip ahead, we had the interception. The Bengals didn't get it on 4th down and 1. Gave it back to the Eagles, who scored field goal, touchdown. So then at that point, it's like 10 minutes of game time later, Eagles have already extended the lead from a tie game. They're already up by 2 touchdowns, basically. No. They're up by a touchdown, 2 touchdowns and a field goal, obviously. So what is that? 17 points. Yeah, it was 17-17. Now it's 34-17. Bengals have gotten their points doubled up. So that's how quick it can get away from you in the NFL. So my point is the end of this game got away from the Bengals rapidly, but it wasn't like a total blowout all the way through. The first 2/3 of the game were pretty close. The Bengals were in it. They had a chance, and then it just kind of slipped through their fingers there at the end. That not getting it on 4th and 1 inside their own territory was really a backbreaker in this game. I think Zac Taylor, if he had to do it over again, like he said he didn't. I still question. I don't know. It's hard. Do you question the decision or do you question the play more? Put that in the comments. You let me know. 4th and 1, Bengals' first drive of the second half. Should they have gone for it? And if so, what play should they have called? I don't know. A better play that would have worked, yeah, but maybe punt it in that situation. I don't know. But like I said, Bengals defense really couldn't stop the Eagles on offense in the second half anyway, so maybe it wouldn't have made any difference. Maybe Zac Taylor was right. They should have just gone for it and just called a better play. But at this point, Bengals are down by 17. I keep getting the score because I forget. So Bengals are down by 17 at this point. I'm losing track of how many points the Bengals are giving up. 34-17. Bengals get the kickoff. First play, pass to Mike Gesicki. He tries to do too much with it. Tries to break a tackle while he's in traffic around other defensive players. Gets the ball punched out, straight out of his hands, and into the arms of the Eagles. They recover in Bengals territory, and they don't do too much besides run the ball a few times. And they looked like they were going to get another touchdown, but it got nullified by a holding penalty. The rookie, Will Shipley, looked like he had a 17-yard touchdown to the Bengals, or it looked like the Eagles were going to put up over 40 points in this game, but luckily for the Bengals, it got called back, and so the Eagles had to settle for a 47-yard field goal from Jake Elliott, which was good. Eagles are up 37-17 with 2 minutes left to go in the game. At that point, Bengals put in Jake Browning, the backup quarterback. All the Bengals fans head for the exits. We all know the game is over when the backup quarterback has come in. Game is out of reach. The whiteout in the stands quickly turned into a green out. It was Eagles fans wearing green and a lot of green empty seats in Paycor Stadium. And that was about it. Bengals fans made themselves scarce in a hurry. But hopefully, fans had a good time at the game and the day was not completely ruined. At least the first half was pretty good. I know there was a contingent of fans from the UK at the game. The Bengals UK fan group made the trek across the Atlantic Ocean to Cincinnati to Paycor Stadium just to watch the Bengals lose by 20 points in Paycor. But I hope everybody had a good, safe, enjoyable trip. But, that's the thing that Bengals, they need to get some wins at home to make the fans feel like they're not wasting their time, wasting their money going to these games. Because if they keep losing, you want fans to keep coming to the game. So after the game, Zac Taylor's keeping it mad positive mental attitude, PMA. He's not getting down in the dumps. He's like, season's not even halfway over. We're not totally out of it. We still got plenty of football left to play. I know we got the right guys, and I'm confident that we'll figure this thing out, get back on the right track, start stacking some wins up, and we'll be right back in this thing, which is the only thing that he can say. Obviously, he can't say, I don't know, man, this season might be done for. You guys probably just don't even want to come to the rest of the games. No, for business purposes, they need to keep the fans interested in spending money, coming to the games, buying beer, buying popcorn, buying jerseys and hats and all that merchandise that they want the fans to spend money on. Well, if they need to be competitive and at least give the illusion that they're trying to win games and trying to win the Super Bowl this year. That's the whole goal in the end, is try to win the Super Bowl and win a championship, right? You wouldn't just be going through the motions just to collect money, would you, Mike Brown? I know you wouldn't. You wouldn't do such a thing. You're not that type of a guy. But Joe Burrow was also equally positive. He said that to get into the playoffs, he thinks that it's going to require winning 10 games. And at this point, there's 9 games left, and they've only got 3 wins. So they need 7 wins in 9 games. They got to go 7-2. They can only lose 2 out of their last 9 games. Not impossible. They could get a couple 2-game, 3-game streak in there, and it's possible, but so far, the results have not been an indicator that that's very likely. And so they're asking Joe Burrow, like, why are you confident that that will happen? What makes you think that? And he was just like, well, because we've done it before and I know we can do it. And, just kind of a throwaway statement. Like, what else are you going to say? But the thing is, when you just kind of make these kind of blanket statements about like, oh, we've done it before. We've been to the Super Bowl before. I know we can do it. The we in there is like only a few handful of people, like Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, a few of the guys on defense. But, the roster is mostly different, completely changed from the team it was when they went to those AFC Championship games and Super Bowl. So the we haven't, and I'm not including myself in that either. I'm a fan. I'm not part of the we, but the Bengals, we haven't accomplished anything. The we is the Bengals of this year, 2024. That's the Bengals. And that we hasn't proved anything. They haven't proved they can come back from any adversity. They haven't proved they can do anything. So I don't know where the confidence is coming from. I don't necessarily not have confidence, but I'm not brimming with confidence. And just like the narrative all off season was everybody knows the only reason the Bengals weren't good last year was because Joe Burrow got injured. And everybody knows that once Joe Burrow can stay healthy, the Bengals will be right back in the Super Bowl. That kind of stuff really annoys me. I tend to not go with what everybody knows because if you're just making an assumption, you're not really thinking, making your own opinions. So I don't necessarily know or care what everybody knows. I try to come up with what I think. And so what I think is that even with Joe Burrow, this football team isn't really that good, especially on defense. They're not able to stop the run. They're not able to stop the other team from scoring more than 35 points in most of these games. And so it doesn't matter how good Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow are, they can't overcome a bad defense. And a lot of people were saying that they expected the running game to be improved this year without Joe Mixon. Somehow it was going to be addition by subtraction. They thought that the combination of Zach Moss and Chase Brown for less money was going to be better than Joe Mixon, the perennial workhorse running back the Bengals had relied on for so long. Somehow, other people, not me, other people thought the Bengals were going to get better by not having Joe Mixon on the team. Well, obviously that has proved to not be true either. Zach Moss, he's effective in the passing game. I'll give him that. He's good at catching the ball out of the backfield and pretty good at pass blocking. He's better at pass blocking than Chase Brown most of the time. But running the ball, he has just not gotten any space. I don't know if it's just the way it's worked out. Maybe he's not getting good blocking on only the plays that he runs, but he just has not been able to get anything going running the ball. Chase Brown, for what he's been able to do running, he had a drop in this game. The ball hit him right in the chest. He was kind of a little bit distracted where he was looking at the defender, trying to make a move on the guy before he got the ball. And Joe Burrow kind of put it on him real quickly. Like as soon as he got out of his break, the ball was already in the air. So he didn't have a lot of time to see it and react and get his hands up. So tough play for Chase Brown, but another one where Bengals players had opportunities to make plays, even if their name wasn't T. Higgins. Other players had opportunities to step up. Some of them did, like Mike Gesicki, but too many of them did not, like Chase Brown, Andre Yosivage, and to some extent, Jermaine Burton. But after this game, so Bengals are 3-5. At the same time the Bengals were playing, the Browns and Ravens were playing the end of their game. And so the one thing that was annoying for me was I live in an area where they played on television, CBS broadcast Browns-Ravens instead of the Bengals game. So I couldn't watch the Bengals game on CBS, over the air. There are other ways you could watch it, but my local CBS affiliate was carrying Browns-Ravens. Surprisingly, the Browns, with Jameis Winston as their backup quarterback, got the win at the last second over the Ravens. Ravens had an opportunity to win, and they had an interception that would have sealed the win, but Kyle Hamilton, number 14, safety for the Ravens, dropped it. It was a horrible pass from Jameis Winston. 100% should have been intercepted, but just bobbled and juggled, and he fought it all the way to the ground. Kyle Hamilton held his hand for, it seemed like 30 seconds, just couldn't believe he dropped it. Very next play, Browns throw a deep touchdown pass to go on top and win the game. So that pulled the Ravens down in the conference and divisional standings. They had been out in front. That brought the Ravens back to 5-3. So the Bengals were only 2 games behind the Ravens. But unfortunately, the Steelers were able to pull out a victory on Monday Night Football last night over the New York Giants. Kind of a strange game. Russell Wilson was able to do just enough to get the victory. Steelers go to 6-2 and move, I guess, 2.5. How many games is that? Multiple, let's say 3 wins. Yeah, three games ahead of the Bengals for the division. So it's going to be a tough road to climb to get back to where the Bengals want to be at the top of the division. But that's not to say that the Bengals are completely out of things, because if you look at the AFC conference standings, out of 16, the Bengals are in 9th place right now, and top 7 teams get into the playoffs. So really, they're only one game out of playoff position. Chargers are number 7 at 4-3. Colts are at 4-4. Bengals at 9th at 3-5. Then you got the Dolphins at 2-5. Browns 2-6. Raiders 2-6. Jags, Patriots, Jets 2-6, and then the Titans at 1-6. So there are a bunch of bad teams in the AFC right now. Bengals are 3-5, but they're actually at the middle of the pack because there's a bunch of teams who have fewer wins than they do. So as bad as it felt to lose that game by 20 points, it doesn't matter how many points you lose by. You lose by 1 or you lose by 20, it all counts the same. So whatever, they lost that game, fine. They can move on. And if they just start stacking up some wins, they could be right back in the hunt, right back in this thing. If they're not out of it, they just have to figure out what they're going to do, especially on offense. We'll have to see if T. Higgins can come back. That'll be a major factor for how successful the Bengals are, and if they can stay healthy, because we see teams all over the league have injuries. Luckily, I didn't notice any too severe injuries. Obviously, every week there's injuries, but I didn't see anything overly, ridiculously devastating, especially in this game. No ambulance on the field, at least. So we're going to have to keep an eye on Orlando Brown Jr. to see if he's able to practice, see if T. Higgins is able to go. The next game for the Bengals is going to be another home game against the Raiders. So the Raiders are another team not doing very well, 2-6. They're having to switch their backup quarterback in and out. Hopefully the Bengals get a win at home for once in Paycor Stadium and give the fans at home something to cheer about. But we'll have plenty of time to preview that in the next episode. I think we'll about call it for this recap episode. It's been a long, arduous episode. That was not the best game to watch. Hopefully we'll have some better games, more exciting wins, and something to cheer about going forward. Because like I said, every way around in this game, the Bengals got beat. They got outplayed, out-schemed, out-coached. Just a thorough beating. It wasn't like, people are calling it embarrassing debacle. They got shellacked and all this stuff. I mean, it wasn't that bad. They were in it for, like I said, the first 2/3 of the game. This kind of got away from them in that last 30% of the game or so. But it was mostly entertaining. So at least nobody got seriously injured. That's the most I can say. So we'll come back in the next episode and preview this Raiders game. But until next time, I'm going to leave you with a hooday and stay hungry for more Bengal Bites.